Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's in the news today? PlayStation 4 Pro is coming back in the form of the Switch 2. Let's dive in. Before we do, though, hit like, hit share, hit the subscribe button. That's what makes us friends. If you don't do it, now we still be friends, but just not as good of friends. But hit those buttons, we'll be friends with benefits. All right, let's jump into this. A new report claims Nintendo Switch 2 will have the PS4 Pro power, but with a catch. So, according to this Forbes article, Nintendo has joyfully refused to give any information about Switch 2 forever now. And there have been leaks and leaks and leaks. There's so goddamn many leaks, it needs a diaper. But the latest chatter is being virally debated on social media is that the Nintendo Switch will run at a PS4 Pro level of power, which is a significant leap from its current capabilities, which are stuck in the PS3 era. Of course, that's still a generation behind, but given the performance gap has narrowed between consoles and generations, that would still be an extremely impressive, despite the Pro being a decade old, jump. The catch, however, is that the mode most people play the Switch in is handheld. Would not have these same capabilities. The PS4 Pro for the Switch when it is docked, idea is for the Switch when it's docked, not when it's in handheld mode. And that's close to base PS4, allegedly. Some are saying that this is bad, and it is not bad, and it ignores what we just witnessed for an entire console generation. More power, the better. The Switch power has come into play when it comes to third-party ports or things like Pokemon series failing to even attempt to look good on the platform. But overwhelmingly, power has not mattered for the Switch when its stylized visuals on mainly first-party games do the trick. The Switch has become the third best-selling system of all time with 146 million units, just 14 million away from the PS2, which is at number one. So, Pat's a graphics hog. He don't like old school graphics, and I understand that. Now, the PS4 Pro, I had one for a day. When it updated, it bricked the console, so I took it back immediately, and then I don't know what the hell I did with the money, but I'm glad I did. So I don't have anything to compare it on. I didn't really see the benefit of the PS4 Pro compared to the PS4. Now, I like the PS4. It was a good system, but I don't know if I would say the Switch is a good thing or a bad thing to be at the PS4 Pro level. If it's docked, it's going to look great because PS4 did really good stuff, but it's the handheld that apparently the majority of people play it on. That will be the issue. So let's jump over to Pat first and see what he thinks. What do you think, Pat? We know first party is going to look phenomenal on it. Everybody else
for
the most part,
they're comparing the Switch 2 to the 8th gen console. So that's 8 years ago at this point almost. The PS4 Pro anyway, because the current gen's been out 5 years now. Have we had 5 years? 5 years now. So we are at 5 years for the current gen, the PS5 and the Xbox, series. So comparing this to the PS4 Pro is still, coming out 8 years after the PS, because the PS4 was that 4-year bump? I think it was. So we're looking at something that's 8 years old that you're comparing this to. And granted, we're talking about a console versus a handheld, so form factor and everything's different. I just wish Nintendo would make a regular console. I've said this a million times, but it is what it is. They're going to make that. If they can get that kind of power out of the docked Switch, then, it'll be what it is. Obviously it'll be a major bump over what they have now. Cause I think right now the Switch is pretty comparable to a PS3. So you're getting like quite a big bump going from a PS3 to a PS4 Pro, in that form factor. But the big old caveat was it has to be docked to do that, right? Obviously, running on battery, you're gonna kill that. You probably system won't even be able to run like that, those speeds or power all the things it needs to get up to those performance specs. So at that point, just make a damn console. We give you these specs, but if it's docked, okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, because I never play mine undocked, and it won't change. What will probably change is that I'm not going to get a Switch 2 when it comes out. I don't have a reason to. Now, it just depends on what their exclusives are, depending on how quick I'll get one, right? Will I wait until it's been a year and maybe get one of those bundle deals with the game that I really want when it comes out? Probably will be what I do. It just depends on their lineup. Nintendo is very tight-lipped about release dates, about what they're going to release with it. Are they working on a new Mario, a new Zelda? What are they going to drop? Are they going to just drop it with a new Metroid? What are we getting? So I don't know. If it's hard for me to get excited about a PS4 Pro comparable console. I'm like, yeah, we're a PS5 era. Technically, you're in the PS5 Pro era, which I don't have a Pro. I won't be getting a PS5 Pro. Nick will get one first, and then we'll all have to check it out.
You said the same thing about the Portal, buddy.
Yeah. So, we're waiting on Nick to get it, and then we'll check it out from what he gets. But it's hard for me to get excited about 8+ year old technology, even if it isn't a handheld, because I'm just not going to play handheld. It's going to be its own console. It's going to be another console for me that's sitting in its dock doing its thing. So it's hard for me to get excited. I'm just more excited about seeing what games they're going to come out with, and because I've kind of abandoned consoles a little bit. I don't really play on my Xbox. I don't really play on my PlayStation these days. I'm playing a lot more on PC than anything. And I can't remember the last time I picked up my Switch. I mean, I didn't even get the last Zelda game. I haven't gotten that yet. So I don't know. I need to because there's some games on my back catalog, but I don't know. I just don't like the graphics of the Switch. And as you said, I like graphics. I like things that are pretty. Gameplay is important too, and story is important, but graphics to me can break immersion in a video game for me, and stuff like this, just I don't know. It all reminds me of cell shading paper style games, and I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want photorealism, but I also want something that looks pretty, has some cool looking graphics fidelity to it. It just looks cool is what I'm looking for, on top of a good story and on top of good gameplay. Good story and good gameplay can carry the lack of graphics so far, but at some point I'm just like, man, my eyes burn looking at this, or the performance is just shitty. I mean, we saw it with a couple of the late games that we had, not the first party games that were coming out, but some of the late stage games that were coming out on the Switch that just like performed like shit, like running through a jar of molasses. It was bad. So I'm not excited, but we'll have to see what game they release. Once Nintendo releases their official specs, then I'll kind of do my own comparison charts and be like, okay, this is that, this is this. I'm excited, I'm not excited, and then their game list, what they plan to release alongside of it, or shortly after. So Nick is going to be first in line for a new one because his Switch is on like life support right now. It's got a box fan strapped to the side of it and everything. So Nick, are you going to wait in line for the Switch 2? And what do you think about this comparison of it's as powerful as a PS4? Are you excited for that in a handheld console? I mean, that would make it more powerful than the Steam Deck.
Yeah. I mean, it would make it powerful as a handheld for sure. Yeah, for me,
but remember, that's only docked. So you can't compare those.
Right. No, it's only when the handheld mode, right? It's only docked mode. So, yeah, I wish they would just make a permanent console that you sit on your table instead of a handheld hybrid. But they're more likely going to be more of a hybrid like they're doing today. My biggest problem with it is really like not necessarily the specs or anything like that. Because again, with my the Nintendo Switch, it sold a ton, right? I think it's number one selling console, right, behind or in front of PlayStation as far as number of sales, right? People always tout PlayStation, and PlayStation touts itself, but Nintendo is still like number one as far as the Switch goes. But I'm wondering for two things. Like, one, will the Switch 2 sell as high if there's a significant price increase, right? Because I think the Switch original sells really well because of its price point. I think that helps with its people going out and buying one. And it's like what, $300 for one. And if it's like $500-$600 for a Switch 2, that might hurt it in its sales predictions, right? If it's that high. I don't know if it would be or not, but if it was, not to say they wouldn't sell a lot, I still think they would. They may not get quite as many sales as the Switch 1. Also, I also wonder, like, with these specs, how does that hurt for developers, right? Will developers want to develop for the Switch when they're developing for higher end things like PCs and PlayStations and Xboxes? We don't get a lot of that now, right? A lot of the big new games don't come to Switch. If you look on Switch, like, you might get a Witcher or a, Grand Theft Auto or something like that, but it's like 10 years later and it's the
streaming
or it's the box version, right? It's like the everything is boxes. We're back to Final Fantasy VII box characters and stuff like that, like low polygon and everything, right? They just turn off all the graphical switches and turn it to potato mode and say, here you go.
What wasn't that Mortal Kombat that looked like Clay Fighters? Basically, it was that crappy.
Right. So, I mean, because graphically games are advancing and stuff like that, right? So even newer games coming out now or coming out this year are going to have a tough time definitely playing on the Switch. But even with the Switch 2, with that, a PS4 Pro, they're still going to have a hard time, because as games progress, as development progresses on games, they get better graphically as the generation progresses. And you're also looking at Xbox and PlayStation, coming out with a new device, right? There's no talk of them coming out anytime soon, but I would say, when the Switch 2 is finally out and ready to go, then Xbox and PlayStation a couple years later maybe are ready to, spit out the next generation of consoles, which is going to blow the Switch 2 out of the water, and it's going to be even further behind. And so, I play my Switch for the exclusive games from Nintendo, and that's the best thing that runs on them, right? They look the best. They're the best games on there. For Switch 2, that's what I would, when it releases, it depends on, for me, it's not necessarily depending on so much as what can it do graphically, because I know it's not going to compare to, a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series. So it's like, what games are they going to have, right? Especially at launch. We talked about the Switch before. Is Metroid Prime 4 going to be a launch title? If it is, then that's going to entice me to pick up a Switch 2. If it's not, then it's not, right? It depends on what they have coming out as launch titles, and as well as titles for the console. But I always worry about how long Nintendo can hold on to that. I mean, their exclusives are good, but how long can they hold on to that, right? And still make a profit? I know they've made a really good profit with the first Switch, but if the price point's higher, the Switch 2 might have issues gaining as much popularity, right? I don't know.
And it's got to be higher, right? I mean, if you're pumping that type of stuff in a handheld form factor, and you're not expecting it to be as much or more than a Steam Deck, then yeah. But what's funny is that I would put the Switch in comparison to hardware specs in like the 7th gen category. But it's always lumped into the 8th gen because it came out at the same time as the 8th gen consoles. And they're going to lump in the Switch 2 in the 9th gen, right? But I guarantee you, probably within 3 years, maybe 4 at the max, PlayStation and Xbox will have their new console out. Which they typically run 5 to 8 years. PlayStation, Xbox, they kind of go randomly from 5 to 8 years for a current generation console. And Switch has been longer typically, right? Obviously the Switch has been out for 8 years now. It'll be 9 probably by the time the Switch 2 comes out. Whereas the other consoles are 5 to 7 years on average for their next gens. So of course, Nintendo Switch is going to say we got a higher selling console. Your life cycles are longer.
Yeah, and it's a cheaper console too,
right? Because you can get it for like $250 right now, right?
Yeah, sometimes during the like Christmas sales or New Year's sales and stuff like that, you can get it cheaper.
And it was only $299 at release, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and I think the OLED version is what? Is that $350?
It's $50 more.
I think it's $50 more for the OLED version. So, I mean, you're probably looking at like $500 to $600 for a Switch 2, if I were to guess. I would hope. I don't think along they can do it.
I don't think they can. I don't think they can. I don't think
it's about
they can afford to go 500. I think 4 would be. 4 would be ideal for them,
or the ideal spot for them.
Yeah. But
because
I think they'll push for the 5 because the Switch did so well. But
yeah, because if you go to like Nintendo, if you actually go to like Walmart and stuff right now, it's $350 for a OLED Switch.
Yeah,
and a regular Switch is $250, so it's $100 price difference just between that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter too much what the Switch 2 can push out for its sales. As far as graphics, I mean, sorry, it just Nintendo has got such a just like PlayStation, they have such a fervent fan base. It's not going to matter if it is PS4 Pro or if it's just PS4. I think if it's a big graphical difference between docked and handheld, that might affect some people, but I don't know if I agree with primarily being played in handheld mode. I really don't. I don't know anybody who plays it in handheld. I just don't. But it might just be my circle of friends. Besides you guys, I have coworkers. That they all play it on the dock. So I think the problem with the PS4 Pro power level is really just going to they're going to charge for it. I don't think I would pay more than $400 for it. I really don't. And now if they had launch games that really, really enticed me, Metroid, 4 would be great. Freaking new Mario, something just kind of out of the park. Hell, even a kick-ass Pikmin would be cool. But they're going to have a lot to really push a $500 price point. I just don't see it. Not at PS4 Pro levels. I think they have to stay at 4. Well, they push 5.
I mean, the PS4 Pro was $400 when it came out, so that would make sense.
And you're talking about form factoring that into handheld, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but did you ever see the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? That's what they're doing. So it's cool. I don't know. I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna find out about Switch 2 next month in February. Because
I don't think it's gonna be that soon.
I think we will because one article I wrote a while back, Nintendo plans to announce more about their upcoming console. It didn't say Switch 2. It just said upcoming console in their first quarter of 2025. By the end of it, which is April, I think, or March. I can't remember. March.
It's March.
It's I don't know. I'm excited for the Switch 2 as purely a gamer standpoint. I'm excited for it, but I'm worried about that price. I'm not as worried about the power because I know it's not going to be PS5 levels. I know it's not even going to be Xbox Series S levels. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to fret about it. I'm just more concerned about the price. And if I'm just getting a barely upgraded Switch 2 graphics, then I'm damn sure not paying $500.
Yeah, I just think, comparing something. So I looked up the Switch, the PS4 Pro was 9 years ago. 2016.
That's about right.
So technically it was November. So it's like 8, it's not quite 9 yet, but if you're comparing it to 9-year-old technology, but in a handheld form factor. Mm-hmm. But still, yeah. I don't want to hear it. I just want to see it. I want to see what your official specs are. And I want to see what your launch titles are. That's the only thing that's going to get me excited for it because, I'm with you guys. I'm not buying it as my general console. I'm buying it for the exclusives.
Yep.
So they need to have an exclusive lineup that entices me to want to get it.
Yep. Pat's waiting for Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 college years.
The what was the old Leisure Suit Larry version of Zelda?
Right. What are you going to do for these rupees?
I'm going to break all your pots.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm not. I'm not under any assumption or falsehood that they're going to come out with a console that rivals this current generation consoles. It's still going to be the game for the Nintendo exclusive only games. So it is what it is, and I want to see the lineup, but I'm not excited.
I am. That's just because, I was around for the OG and hopefully I'll be around for the Switch too. So I'm excited for it, but I'm more excited just to have the announcement and the launch titles. That's purely going to put me over one edge or the other. So that's about all we can do for right now. So what about you, Nick? Are you excited? Are you pumped?
Yeah, I'm excited and pumped for the same thing you guys are. I just want to see the device. I want to see it in action, and I want to see when it's going to launch and how much it's going to cost and what launch titles is going to come out with it.
Yeah. Yep. My biggest wonder is the games themselves. What factor are you going to? They're probably going to stick with the cartridge. Is it going to be cross-platform? That's kind of really what I want to see the most.
Well, they said they have backwards compatibility, so they're probably going to stick with the same cart design.
Yep, which limits what they can do still. So,
most games don't come up with the full cart size anyway these days. Plus, not to mention everything's probably got to be online anyway, so you got to download the rest of it.
Yeah,
right. Plus, they could probably make like higher capacity cards too.
Yeah. You need just like the old PlayStation 1 days. You're gonna have 4 carts.
As long as the slot's the same and maybe just do a different pin out, they could probably get higher capacities out of that. Because we got higher capacity than what the current Switch cartridges are in the super micro SDs.
Right.
Like we get hundreds of gigabytes into that crap. I think I've seen some small. Yeah. So
they could introduce the. What is it?
Titanium,
the terabyte, the titanium SD cards or whatever.
Oh, good Lord! This game's only $900.
Yeah, so they
24-karat gold.
Yeah,
Mario's crap.
They make the gold cartridges like they bring back the old Nintendo and Nintendo 64 where they had like the Zelda and the golden cart. They bring that back.
Yeah, they have some of those, the SDUCs, they can do like 128 terabyte.
Yeah.
Terabyte. We're talking terabytes.
Terabytes, yeah.
Oof.
So, yeah. And those are the SDUC ones. And then even still even because I think the Switch uses like a variation of the HC, which is like 32 gigabyte size. So,
yeah, I believe so.
So if they move up to even the next version, the XC, which does up to 2 terabytes, they'll be fine. I don't see discs staying around for very much longer anyway on the other consoles.
Oh no,
Switch will be all digital before long too.
Yeah,
they'll offer a service like Walmart used to, Voodoo or whatever. Well, you bring your games in and we'll digitize them for you in our cloud.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's how me and my wife got our special tapes from VHS to DVD,
and then to digital.
Yep. Yeah, Walmart was like, I know you.
I've seen your videos. They're online now.
Can I have your autograph?
Right. That's right.
His name is
How
Picasso.
did it fit?
Is it cake?
Almost. It was.
Does it blend?
On the walls. All right. Before we get nastier, which we will do, it's in our nature, because we're 12-year-olds. Speaking of 12-year-olds, make sure you hit that like button, but don't tell your mom. Also, the share, the subscribe, and all those good things that keep you up to date. Plus, best thing for us is when you give us your feedback, your comments, your thoughts, your opinions, without being a butthole. Let us know what you think below. Do you think that's good enough for the Switch? PS4 Pro power, docked only. Let us know if you think it's even accurate. I'm not a tech guy. These guys are. So I just sit here and nod my head when they mention a bunch of numbers. So let us know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, see ya.